Welcome back to What's Your Geek? I'm Rob, and this is where I talk about what's cool in the world of role-playing games, the world of nerdery and geekery, things I'm into, things you're into, things we're all excited about. Today, I've got several interesting things to talk about. However, I'm really going to be focusing on Rob Schwalb's The Demon Lord, The Shadow of the Demon Lord. It's a new role-playing game by Rob Schwalb. If you guys aren't familiar with who this man is, he did a ton of freelance work for 4th edition, helped create 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, worked for Warhammer Fantasy, and this is his relatively new role-playing game he came out with, I think about a year ago. But before I get to that exciting development, I have to tell you, I am wearing a Grumpy Cat t-shirt. For you that are not aware of who Grumpy Cat is, some woman, or I think it was a woman, maybe it was a man, who knows, maybe it's a group of people, had a cat that had a weird-looking face, and they turned that into $1 million idea. So this particular Grumpy Cat says, "Rocks fall, everyone dies good." Kind of a play on, you know, some hardcore DMs where they just kill all their players in an accident that they don't get a save or do anything from. Another note is I had to give blood today, so I've got a nice neon green Band-Aid there for your viewing pleasure. Now, another company that I'm really excited about, it's called Miniature Market. They are out of St. Louis, and I was really into this company back when 4th edition was going full guns ahead, and Wizards of the Coast was producing their own line of miniatures, which are far superior. I hate to knock WizKids, but their miniatures are using a cheaper plastic to me. Maybe the detail and the paint's better, but the plastic's brittle. I mean, the Wizards of the Coast miniatures, you could literally drive those things over with a car and they would bounce back. These ones, I dropped one on a carpet, like a padded carpet, and the freaking thing broke. Anyway, Miniature Market, when I was buying like a whole case of miniatures, because they came out with like a set of like 60, and the only way to get every single one is you had to buy a whole case. So I would be buying hundreds of miniatures like a handful of times a year. And this was my go-to place because they were cheap, they had free shipping, and I just liked them. So I don't buy as much anymore because I don't need miniatures a lot, but I was running a campaign featuring giants, and so I went to a Miniature Market because they had a good selection. And when you're trying to buy miniatures that are non-randomized, they can get kind of pricey, particularly the rarer ones. And so they had a pretty decent price. So here you are, witnessing the unveiling. And here's the really exciting thing. I forgot everything I bought, right? Because I'm talking about the giants, which I did buy. And you can see these guys, they give you a handy list, you know, of all your miniatures, so I know what I bought. I can make sure I got everything. And they pad it well, like it's in, you know, someone took some time, didn't just throw these in the box. They put it in a bigger box with this, you know, really good padding, and then they put even more, they put all this styrofoam stuff in. So you can see I got some really sweet miniatures. Here's the weird thing, folks. It's kind of like with the iPhones. I don't know what the latest iPhone is the 6 or the 7, but with the latest iPhone, like they changed the charger, so you can't use your previous chargers. It's kind of like with PlayStation. I was doing a little research on this. PlayStation 4 isn't backwards compatible. Look at this, that's a nice looking miniature. I mean, these are the newer, more brittle ones, but so I'm gonna be careful with them, but they are good looking miniatures. I'm not gonna knock their design, you know, they are good miniatures. But my point is, why am I battling about iPhones and chargers and PlayStations not being backward compatible? Because in 4th edition D&D, giants were large size, right? So in D&D, all the miniatures are to scale. A 1 by 1 inch miniature base is pretty much human size. And then a 2 by 2 inch base. In 4th edition, that was a giant, right? This is actually a 3 by 3 inch base. So in 4th edition, 2 by 2 is giant, and then these ones would be considered, at this size, would be considered titans, because 4th edition heavily had a story theme about titans and the gods fighting back at the dawn of time, right? And the gods won, and the titans were sort of enslaved or put to sleep or whatever. But in 5th edition, for whatever reason, they said, oh, we have to make giants huge, which is 3 by 3. So now, these, if I want to play some 4th edition, these are freaking titans, right? Or worse yet, if I want to play 5th edition and want to use my 4th edition miniatures, all my giants are no longer accurate to size, but my titans are. But I have way more giants than titans, because titans were the top echelon. So now I had to buy some giants, you know, of the 5th edition variety, so I could have enough giants for this campaign I was running. So I'm just pulling them all out, and they are some pretty interesting. They are some interesting. Good. This is like the cloud giant there. I mean, so I'm not knocking the quality of the miniatures, and I like the paint jobs and stuff. I just wish like there's no bend in there, right? If I were to pull too hard, that would just snap right off, or perhaps drop it on a carpet. Come on, a padded carpet and it breaks. Now I will give them one. I will give them. Oh, look at this. Wait, is this break off? Oh no, this came. Some piece came. Oh, that's kind of cool. Okay, now I will give them some kudos because this is kind of a cool thing. Where it's actually the cloud giant here. The miniature gets. One good thing I want to say is my Volkswagen. I'm just doing some free advertising for Volkswagen. I like my Volkswagen Passat, but I'm using the key to open this thing, right? Because you don't need a knife if you have car keys. So this is kind of cool. I guess they did. They thought about stuff breaking off, and so they actually, this is his hand, and his hand attaches, because they're probably thinking if they just did that normally it wouldn't. So that's kind of cool, because then you could like have his hand get cut off or something if you wanted. So that's kind of a cool thing. But one thing I really like about this is they really introduced the idea of flying creatures. I mean, I think they started towards the end of 4th edition miniatures. They started introducing this, but they really got into it in 5th edition. Because oftentimes it's hard to show how is a creature flying. Well, now they created these little, invisible or clear stands, right? So you can like have your creatures flying around, which can, add a bit of fun into the game, because then you have like, because the whole point of miniatures to me, not the whole point, but a big point of it is like, it gives you some scale, it gives you some relative like, so if you're like this human and I put this giant down, you're like, oh my god, I'm kind of scared. But now you can have your little sprites. Or fairies or pixies or whatever flying around the board, which is kind of a fun thing. I will say there's one really annoying thing. They made the bottoms of these, like with the giants, it's really white, so you can clearly see it. So I'm not sure, and this miniature is also white, but some of the miniatures they did like in black on black, so it makes it really hard to actually read what the miniature is, and that just seems like someone would have caught that early on and said, that's a dumb idea, let's not do that. But for whatever reason, they did. But in 4th edition miniatures, they never did that. They're always easy to read. But anyway, so those are some of the miniatures. I'm also excited that I forgot I had ordered the Pathfinder Adventure card game, the latest version, the Mummy's Mask. I ordered the Adventure Pack 5 and 6. So I'm barely finished playing through the basic adventure. I haven't even started Adventure 1. In fact, I just sleeved Adventure 1 because I'm almost done. But then I bought 5 and 6 because I like to buy them all together. And the reason I bought them from Miniature Market is because by spending like $99 in the cost. Oh look, another giant. My helpful assistant handed me one more giant. This is the stone giant, right? So you can see I've got pretty much the collection. I kind of went a little. I mean, I didn't intend to go crazy with the fire giants. They didn't have all the miniatures. Their stock system was a little wacky, so they didn't give me everything I wanted. But I've got a really good assortment of fire giants here. I mean, these two are oh, and this is another cool thing they did, right? These are basically the same identical miniature. One's got a mace and one has a hammer, right? So when you're having a combat and you're trying to track damage, I can just write down, FG Fire Giant Mace, FG H, right? Fire Giant Hammer. And then this would be like, different Fire Giants. So that's kind of cool that they did two different, basically identical, and it's a lot cheaper that way, but then it also gives you some, ability to distinguish between the giants. So that's kind of a cool thing. They also did that too with the Stone Giants and the other giants and the Frost Giants. But I didn't. The other ones I bought weren't in stock, so I don't have those. Okay. Anyway, so that was the unboxing of the Miniature Market. Talking a little bit about the Pathfinder Adventure card game. I really love the Adventure card game. It's an awesome game. At some point, if I haven't, I will go into more detail. But for now, I am going to focus on Shadow of the Demon Lord and what really cool things I like about it. And what I will say is there's a lot of different role-playing games out there now, and there's a lot of different styles. But the classic, the go-to standby is Dungeons and Dragons. And they have upgraded and implemented themselves. But I guess what I would say is D&D, it's kind of like, if you know about the reason why our roads are a certain width, is way back in the day, Romans would drive two horses side by side, and that's how they built their roads. So it was like the width of two horses' butts, right? Well, because the Romans already had those roads in place, as we started modernizing and building new roads, no one said, hey, what if we weren't constrained by these old roads that the Romans, these other civilizations built, and we just decided what was the best configuration, right? But we didn't do that. We said, oh, this is what we have, so we're going to stick with this. And I'm not enough of a transportation expert, except I do know that traffic gets horrible to know if that's like if there's if we could start all over. But what I'm trying to say is there's some artifacts of D&D. I don't mean the literal magic item artifacts. I just mean like the carryover things, right? That D&D has brought that we haven't got rid of. Like a classic one I've heard recently, people are talking about the alignment system. Alignment, particularly in 5th edition, there's not really much mechanically relevant to it. It doesn't really help you play your character better. It's kind of like a carryover that doesn't do a lot for the game anymore. But if you took the alignment system out, so many grognards, so many people would raise a red flag and get angry, right? So the exciting thing to me is, even like Pathfinder, right, the Pathfinder role-playing game, they had to keep a lot of that stuff in, right? And some of those things are just not any good. So what I love about this is Shadow of the Demon Lord didn't have to constrain, Robert Schwalb didn't have to constrain himself by doing that. He definitely is a D20 based game, but he didn't have to use a lot. He could get rid of a lot of those old carryover artifacts. Also, while I'm talking about the Shadow of the Demon Lord, when I bought this at Winter Fantasy this year, I also bought the Demon Lord's Companion. And what I didn't know at the time I bought it, it just looked like a cool thing. And there were several other books for sale along with this, but I thought, well, this one looks kind of a cool one. I got a nice little bookmark too. Is that when I started reading this, he said basically this book could have been 400 plus pages, but at a certain point he had to say that the bigger the book, the more it costs, blah blah blah. So he had to cut off a certain point. But this book is basically like interchangeable. He said there's nothing in the Demon Lord's Companion that I couldn't have put in here. Like halflings are in here, and goblins are in here, or gear forged or whatever he calls them. They're kind of like the clockwork. They could have been switched around, but for whatever reason. So my point is, if you do buy Shadow of the Demon Lord, and there's lots of supplements in different books, I would recommend getting the Demon Lord's Companion because it's just kind of part and parcel of it. But my point is, there's some really things that I really like about it. The system's very tight. What I mean by that is, a lot of people, there's this sort of range of people in terms of optimization of their characters in Dungeons and Dragons. And some people really optimize their characters really well, and some not so well. And then there's people in the middle. And this really came to the forefront in 4th edition, and it can still happen in 5th edition, maybe not as much, but 3.5 and 3rd edition was crazy. But when this guy is playing a sorcerer, and then this other guy's playing a sorcerer, normally you don't notice, like if I'm playing a paladin and you're playing a wizard, maybe you don't notice like, wow, my character's way better than yours because they're different classes. You just think maybe, but they were actually playing the same exact class. Well, one guy's sorcerer, his minimum damage was more than the other sorcerer's maximum damage. So one guy literally had figured out how to really make a much better character. And that's sad when you're playing a character and someone else's character is just way better. It's like, can you imagine like you're both driving Lamborghinis? For some reason, your Lamborghini only goes 60 miles an hour and the other guy goes 120? It sucks, right? Because you don't play games to like feel bad about yourself. So one of the things I like about this is it's a very tight system. In terms of abilities and how each race has like its given abilities. First of all, he only uses 4 abilities. D&D's got 6 abilities, right? You got strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. And I think that it's trying to describe your character, but it's just something Gary Gygax or Dave Arneson or both of them came up with like years and years ago. And why do you need to keep them all? So, for example, he got rid of a lot of the ability scores and just shrunk them down to 4. And I'm not sure exactly where those 4 are, but I can find them in a moment. And the cool thing is you just have a set thing. So I'm looking at, just happened to open a changeling. You have a strength of 9, an agility of 10, an intellect of 10, and a will of 10. Now my point is, strength is kind of like, my understanding is kind of like strength and constitution is now combined. Agility is basically dexterity. Intellect seems to have some aspects of intelligence and wisdom, and will seems to have some aspects of wisdom and charisma. That may not be an exact mapping, but my point is 4 ability scores is fine. And within those, every changeling starts with the same 4 ability scores, and you can add 1 to 1. Like I can take my strength to 10 if I'm willing to subtract 1 from another, like my will to 9. So you get a little bit of customization, but not a lot. But the point is, when you're creating your character, you're not trying to make the most powerful character in the world. In this game, right? Because the whole point of the game is to get into a story and to immerse yourself. And so I like that it keeps a very tight system. So like if 2 people play a changeling, it's not like one guy's going to figure out how to like really max his changeling out way more than another. So that's one thing that I really like about the game. Another thing about the game is abilities only contribute to your attack bonuses. Here's another huge thing, right? In D&D, here's how you figure out your bonus. A 10 is a flat, a 10 and 11 is a 0, right? So for every even number above 10, so 12, 14, 16, you get a +1 to your attack and damage. So how you figure that out is mathematically you subtract 10 and divide by 2 and you round down. So 12 minus 10 is 2, divided in half is 1, right? So +1 for 12. Why do that? Why that extra math? In this game, 10 is +0, 11's +1, 12 is +2, 13's +4, etc. Just make it an even flat math system, right? If D&D did that, people would be up in arms. Why? It's like the metric system. I remember when I was a kid in high school, not high school, probably grade school, and we were told like, oh, guess what? We're going to change everything to the metric system because it's a better system, just flat out a better system. But the problem was there's too much invested in the United States in, you know, our system of weird odd yards and feet and like inches and Fahrenheit, too much invested, too many things already done that way, so it's just impossible. But if we just bitten the bullet and just suffered a little bit of pain in the long run, way better off. Now, is it super painful to calculate your ability score? You're probably not right away, but then when you start introducing monsters that can drain things, like, oh, my strength just got drained by 3 points. Well, let's have a 15 strength minus, you know, suddenly you're starting to figure out like what your new attack and damage is. And another thing is in D&D, using that attack ability for damage really means someone can really crank up their ability score and do a lot of damage, right? And this one, your ability score only adds to your attack bonus. It doesn't add to damage. So you can keep the damage really tightly constrained. In other words, the amount of damage any single person can do is really limited based on what spell they know or what weapon, right? But your ability to hit is actually enhanced, and it's fun to hit, right? Even if I do a little bit of damage, I'd rather hit and do a little bit of damage than miss, right? And so psychologically it may average out, but the psychological enjoyment is hitting more often is fun. So I think that was a wise choice he made to keep the ability score, you know, to your bonus to attack. He also does a cool thing in D&D. A lot of in 5th edition is a little bit different, but he's kind of got cool things where you can actually attack someone else's intellect with an intellect spell and stuff. But I'm getting a little far afield. For this review of the Shadow of the Demon Lord, I'm just trying to keep it to the basics. I'm going to talk about one more thing before I let you people go that I really like about the Shadow of the Demon Lord. In D&D, typical D&D, your most freedom is at the very beginning, right? When I haven't picked anything at all, right? And I have the most freedom. I can pick any race, I can pick any class. But once I pick my race, suddenly the number of classes that are going to be the best are sort of limited. And I can go against type, right? I can play a gnome cleric or something like that and choose the non-optimized class for my race. But then in 5th edition D&D, you know, at first level you make certain choices. I've chosen my class, right? So that now limits you. I mean, you can always multi-class, but the problem is, yeah, you can multi-class forever, but it just starts to, at a certain point, it starts to just weaken unless you're doing 1 or 2 classes at a time and you have a real strategy. It starts to weaken and dilute the power. So for the purpose of this, let's just focus on taking a single class. So let's say I choose a paladin, right, in 5th edition. Okay, now I've limited my funnel. And I think at 3rd level, you get to choose your oath, right? Once I choose my oath, because now the number of choices I make going on and on and on are really limited. So if I start, so at 1st level, I kind of have to already, by the time I get to 3rd level, I'm already kind of deciding like what my character is going to be. It's like taking your 6-year-old to kindergarten and thinking about what college they're going to be going to. It's like, it's way too young. Let the kid explore and figure themselves out. In terms of a role-playing game, let your character explore and figure out who they are. So the cool thing about this is you choose your ancestry, which is basically your race in Shadows of the Demon Lord. You don't get a class at all. You play a 0-level character for one adventure, assuming you survive. And then you get your novice path at 1st level. And there's only 4 to choose from. There's magician, priest, rogue, and warrior, right? The cool thing is, and the way it's built, is let's say I choose a priest. It doesn't mean that when I get to my master path, it doesn't mean that I'm then limited. It doesn't, I mean, the way it works is you can pretty much choose any novice path and choose any master path. And you might say, well, some are better than others, but it's not like they're so much better that it precludes doing that, right? When once I choose, let's say like a paladin in 5th edition D&D, going for a wizard may not be the best thing because paladins care about charisma and strength and somewhat wisdom, and wizards are really about intelligence. So then you start getting into such a huge multi-attribute dependency that it becomes like not worthwhile. And multi-attribute dependency means when you have multiple attributes that you care about and you only have a certain number of points to raise them, so it becomes more difficult. But then at 7th level, when I get my expert path, I'm looking at master path, that's a 7th level. Expert paths come in at I think it's 4th level, but I will verify in the book. Level 3, so expert path at level 3, and there's like about 16 expert paths, right? We've got things like Artificer, Assassin, Berserker, Ranger, Scout, Oracle, Paladin. Things that are typically classes in 5th edition D&D or other versions of D&D are now your expert path. So you can kind of play your character, your race at 0 level. You can, did I cast a lot of spells? Was I more devout? Did I pray? Or did I like try to sneak around? Then you can choose like, you know, the magician, the priest, the rogue, etc. Then based on how they do, right, in the first couple of levels, at 3rd level, you choose your expert path. Like, so maybe your rogue character was like, oh, I was really killing people. I want to be the assassin. But it's not so, you're not so far into the rogue that you couldn't say, oh, my rogue encountered some really wicked, evil stuff, and I'm going to go through warlock. Now the really better, the even cooler thing is at 7th level, you get a master path, and there's like probably like almost 50 master paths, things like champion, cavalier, beastmaster, inquisitor, and infiltrator. So my point is, as you role play and actually have experience with your character, the funnel and the amount of choices you get to make later and later get larger and larger. Where in typical D&D and a lot of other kind of role-playing games like Pathfinder that follow that model, it's like the higher level you get, the more and more your choices get narrowed down. And in fact, like in 3rd edition and probably Pathfinder, because you have these like feat trees where you have dependencies, it's like it's not uncommon for people to plan their character out before they even play a character from 1st to 20th level. Like I know everything that character's going to take at 1st level and 20th, all the way down. So something really cool happens, like the DM throws in this like wicked, vile tomb and your rogue finds it. You might go like, oh, it'd be so cool to multi-class into warlock or wizard or sorcerer, but you're like, oh, but look, I've already figured it all out. I'm already 7th level and I've already like planned these feats, and now my character would suck, right? Not so in Shadow of the Demon Lord. Not so. You can like play that character and really explore them, and that's, you know, some of the things I really like about it. So in my next video, I will get more into the Shadow of the Demon Lord, talk more about what I like about it. But I just want to encourage you, go out there, check out the book, go online, read about it, read some reviews, try playing it, see if someone at a local game store, you know, is interested in running it. Get it yourself and try running it for your friends, and let me know what you think about it. Please like my channel. Please tell your friends, your family, your online gaming community.